Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I'm Darshan Usman. The top stories this hour. Fubara Rights Assembly plans budget representation on Wednesday, March 19, 2025. Nigerian Senate passes vote of confidence in Senator Godswill Akpabio, reaffirms support for his leadership. 20 Burundi soldiers die in recent clashes with the M23 rebel group. Details shortly. We begin the news from Rivers State, where the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has notified the State House of Assembly of his intention to represent the 2025 Appropriation Bill on Wednesday, March 19, 2025. Now, this follows a failed attempt on March 12, when he was denied entry to the Assembly complex despite prior notice. Fubara's letter addressed to Speaker Martin Amaewhule stresses compliance with the Supreme Court ruling and responds to the Assembly's request for a representation. The governor emphasized the importance of prioritizing the state's interests over political disagreements, aiming to move past the ongoing stalemate and push forward with progress for Rivers State. Now, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has again written to the State House of Assembly, informing them of his intention to represent the budget. Meanwhile, the State House of Assembly has called on the Department of State Services to investigate the Chief Judge, Justice Simeon Amadi, over allegations of age falsification. The matter was raised during Thursday's plenary session following the submission of documents to the Speaker by the House Leader, Honorable Major Jack, shortly after Deputy Speaker Dumle Mao made a formal accusation against Justice Amadi. Still staying with Rivers developments in Rivers State, the Ijaw National Congress and the Rivers State Elders and Leaders Forum have rejected the alleged plots to use the Rivers State House of Assembly to impeach Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Now, both groups reacted separately, where they told the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to leave Governor Fubara alone to concentrate on leading Rivers State to prosperity. They also asked President Bola Tinubu to call the former governor to order. The president of INC, Professor Benjamin Okaba, called for an urgent intervention from the federal government to avert another crisis. We now head to the National Assembly, where the Nigerian Senate has again passed a vote of confidence on its president, Godswill Akpabio, despite sexual harassment allegations leveled against him by suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. News Central's National Assembly correspondent, Sagir Ibrahim, brings details of this and more from Thursday's plenary.
During Thursday's plenary, Senate Majority Leader Opeyemi Bamidele raised a motion citing Orders 41 and 51 of the Senate Rule Book following Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan's recent appeal at the Interparliamentary Union meeting in New York. Bamidele stressed the need to clear the air on the allegations of sexual harassment against the President of the Senate, which he says is distracting the upper chamber from his constitutional mandate.
We need to concentrate. There is work to be done, and we need to concentrate on our mandate, regardless of what anybody might say, Mr. President. We do not only stand united around our mandate, but that we also communicate this clearly to members of the Nigerian public, by moving a vote of confidence in the Senator Godswill Akpabio leadership of this Senate.
In response, the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, thanked his colleagues for their unwavering support, urging them to continue contributing their quota to nation building.
We have so confidence in our female folk. In this 10th Assembly of the Senate, we have only 4 women, and the 4 of them are all committee chairmen, intentionally, in order to give a voice to women in the parliament. So I thank you for this vote of confidence. I will not take it for granted, and I also have confidence in you and your ability to continue to contribute your quota towards nation building.
Meanwhile, a bill seeking to amend the Electoral Act to provide for early voting during elections scaled second reading on the floor of plenary. Sponsor of the bill, Katsina Central Senator Abdulaziz Eradua, while presenting the general principles of the bill, said it seeks to enfranchise Nigerians who, due to their duties on election day, are often denied the opportunity to vote.
Over 1 million citizens who play critical roles in ensuring the smooth conduct of the elections are disenfranchised. These include INEC officials, ad hoc staff, the security personnel.
Other lawmakers expressed mixed views on the bill.
We must support this. Again, we said Nigeria is a giant of Africa. Giant in what perspective? We are a giant in the economy and all that. We should also be giant in democratic process.
Enshrining this early voting, people can vote very early, and those that wish to wait for the last date for them to cast their vote physical, that is also okay.
They are not totally disenfranchised. They are carrying out another essential service that adds to the value of the electoral process.
When the bill was put to a voice vote, the ayes had it, and the bill passed its second reading. In Abuja for News Central, and Sagir Ibrahim.
In the same vein, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has filed a contempt application against Senate President Godswill Akpabio over her suspension. On March 4th, the Federal High Court in Abuja issued an order restraining the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions from taking disciplinary action against Akpoti-Uduaghan. Justice Obiora Egwatu granted the order following an ex parte application filed by the senator's legal team. However, just 48 hours later, the Senate suspended Akpoti-Uduaghan for 6 months over alleged misconduct. The decision was made after the Senate adopted a report from the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions chaired by Senator Neda Imasuen. The chairman of the Senate Interparliamentary Committee, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, has slammed the suspended senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, saying her petition at the Interparliamentary Union is dead on arrival. Akpoti-Uduaghan, who was suspended from the Senate on March 6th, has escalated her disputes with Senate President Akpabio to the UN Forum, alleging political victimization and accusing Akpabio of retaliation for rejecting his advances. However, Ibrahim argued that the IPU could not act on her petition since she is not a member. He clarified that IPU membership applies to countries, not individuals, and that Akpoti-Uduaghan was not authorized to represent Nigeria at the IPU. The House of Representatives has retained Nigeria's value-added tax at 7.5%, rejecting a proposed staggering increase to 15% by 2030. Now, the House also rejected the reintroduction of inheritance tax, which it says is being disguised as taxation on family income. Our National Assembly correspondent brings the details.
After a week-long retreat, the House Ad Hoc Committee on Tax Reform Bills presented its report, forming the major business of the day's proceedings. The committee chairman, James Faleke, moved for the consideration of the report, providing a summary of key recommendations. For VAT revenue distribution, the House adopted a structure where 50% will be shared equally among states, 20% distributed based on population, and 30% allocated according to consumption patterns, ensuring revenue is tied to the point of actual consumption rather than where tax returns are filed. The House also approved tax exemption on the personal income of military personnel in Nigeria.
50% will be distributed equally, 20% will be distributed based on population, 30% will be distributed based on consumption. Emphasis has also been placed on the actual place of consumption, irrespective of where the returns are filed.
In addition, the House agreed to retain VAT at 7.5%, rejecting plans for any phased increase. Lawmakers commended the committee's work, stressing the need for tax reforms that prioritize citizens' welfare.
reduction of VAT rate to 5% or alternatively maintain the current rate of 7.5%.
Honorable Chinda, please can you approach the chair?
The committee adopted the 7.5%. Recommendations for the reinstatement of contributions towards NASENI, NIDA, and a call to ensure continuous funding from the development levy. This, of course, was retained without sunset clauses.
The House further approved the appointment of one representative from each of Nigeria's 36 states to the board of the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill. On his part, Speaker Abbas Tajuddin praised the committee's efforts, highlighting the absence of dissent among lawmakers during the review process.
So I believe that what we have, honorable colleagues here, for those who are not members of this particular ad hoc committee, is the handwork of not a few, but of all. 36 members plus the regional and zonal caucus leaders. 100% consent and assent of all of them.
As Nigerians await the passage of the bills and presidential assent, many are hopeful that the proposed reforms will improve economic growth and enhance citizens' welfare.
Earlier, Frank Aigbogun, the publisher of Business Day newspaper, joined us in the news to expand conversation on the new tax regime. Let's bring you his thoughts.
I think when you talk to business people, what you hear is that the reforms of the government, starting from the petrol price reform in May of 2023, these reforms have brought significant pressure on individuals, reducing purchasing power, and even on businesses with rising inventory. So from the perspective of business leaders, I think it makes sense to allow VAT remain at 7.5% for a while, as individuals, Nigerians, and the businesses that they own transit from the pain of reform to recovery. That should be, in my view, a sacrifice that the government makes to help promote recovery, economic recovery in the country, and of course, a recovery of households' income in Nigeria.
Moving away from that, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has attributed the proliferation of universities to mounting pressure from lawmakers. Alausa spoke at the third edition of the 2025 Ministerial Press Briefing in Abuja on Thursday, at the time the federal government has come under increasing pressure to reform the country's education sector. Now, with nearly 200 bills pending in the National Assembly for the creation of new universities, the minister emphasized that strengthening the capacity of existing institutions is more important than establishing new ones. He noted that there was no need to pressure the president into improving more universities.
We have clear plans to address our out-of-school children. We're going to do conditional cash transfer. We're working with the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry on how we're going to do this. We're trying to plan the process on how this will be done. We've gotten the NIPSI to join us as well, so that we can now have a register that is clean, and as these funds go to these parents, we know exactly we're paying the right people. So we have a clear plan to address our out-of-school children. We also have launched a Lumina program for a girl child education.
Professor Anthony Killer, Director and Professor of Strategy and Development at the Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies, joined us earlier on the news. We bring you his thoughts on the nation's education sector development strategy.
That we have a rather more complete and holistic view of the situation in education. So there are two things. We have a qualitative deficiency and a quantitative deficiency. The quantitative deficiency is due to the fact that there are lots of Nigerian students who would like to go to university and there are not enough universities for them. This lack of enough spaces leads to certain arbitrary practices and indeed substandard in a way. But there's also a qualitative problem in the sense that the existing universities are not up to par. They're not up to par in terms of infrastructures, in terms of what they deliver to the student, and really, and we must talk about it in terms of what they deliver to the society. I think if we want to look at the tertiary education sector, perhaps the whole education sector, we need to think of a reset. We need to, for example, think of better living standards for students and better wages and recognition for faculty. But by the same token, we need to expect the faculty to solve Nigerian problems. We need to expect engineers and mathematicians and our faculty of agriculture to solve the problem of our daily life.
News Now returns after the break. Thank you for staying with us. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has assured that the Abuja International Conference Center, which is currently being renovated, will be completed on schedule ahead of the May 29 second-year anniversary of the current government. Now, the minister, during an inspection at the facility with several other road projects in Abuja, commended the quality of work being done, saying that the contractors have performed creditably well.
And have a total rehabilitation of the International Conference Center. And we're happy with the speed of work going on. I will believe by May ending, it is one of those projects that Mr. President will commission in his second year in office. We also have gone to the Ossex to Wasa, where CGC is directly involved. And you have had a contractor say, by the grace of God, by May, we'll also inaugurate that project. We have gone to N5, where General Beja is doing, you can see the quality of work going on there. But I can tell you I doubt the possibility of that being completed by May. I can tell you I'm quite very pleased with the quality of work going on by the contractors.
The European Union says it remains committed to supporting Nigeria despite the suspension of aid by some international partners. Now, this was reaffirmed by the EU ambassador to Nigeria, Gautier Migno, during the launch of the €13 million social protection initiative at the United Nations House in Abuja. Our correspondent, Joshua Marai, reports.
According to UNICEF, despite Nigeria's high rate of monetary and multidimensional poverty, especially among women and children, social protection coverage remains limited, leaving many vulnerable households excluded from welfare programs. To address this gap, the European Union says it is committing €30 million to strengthen social protection system at the federal level and in 4 states of Abia, Benue, Sokoto and Oyo over the next 3 years.
Through our project, we will support the digital integrated system approach for social protection to inform policy and decision making. And the project will be implemented at federal but also at state level in Abia, Benue, Sokoto and Oyo states for a period of 3 years. At a time when we hear a lot about suspension, withdrawal, or reduction of international cooperation, rest assured that the European Union will continue through the Global Gateway Strategy to partner with Nigeria and with many partners, particularly the United Nations, to support Nigeria in its path towards sustainable progress and prosperity.
The United Nations Children Fund's representatives in Nigeria, Christian Midante, expressed the agency's commitment to ensuring the effective implementation of the EU-funded initiative.
I would like to then reiterate as well our commitment to continue supporting the country in all its efforts to build a viable social protection system and, most important, to provide solid, sustainable basis that can allow the fulfillment of the rights of women, of children, of adolescents and young people.
Pledging Nigeria's support, other stakeholders voiced optimism that the project would have a lasting impact on the country's most vulnerable populations.
Through this cooperation, we will strengthen policy frameworks, enhance service delivery, and create long-lasting impacts for the most vulnerable in our society.
Thank you for standing with Nigeria. Thank you not just by standing alone, standing with us, standing close to us at this crossroads of freezing international funding.
With growing concerns over poverty and limited social protection coverage, stakeholders say sustained collaboration and funding will be crucial in improving Nigeria's welfare system and securing better livelihood for citizens. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Siminalayi.
To Lagos State now. Access to clean and potable water remains a major challenge for many communities in Lagos, despite being Nigeria's economic hub. Residents in several areas struggle daily to find safe drinking water, resorting to unhealthy practices that put their health at risk. News Central's correspondent Abubakar has the details.
This is Agege, one of the many areas in Lagos where access to clean water is a daily struggle. For residents here, getting potable water is not just a challenge, it is a crisis. Many depend on unreliable boreholes, contaminated wells, and in some cases, water vendors who charge exorbitant prices.
It's very hard to get water because from where I'm living, I used to trek down to fetch water. Assuming you are here yesterday, you can see there are many people crowd there. There's scarcity of water, there is no light. Since 3 days or 4 days now, there's no light here. We don't know the issue all about. And it's not being easy waking up in the morning, fetch water to bathe my baby, and one is going to school also. It's very, very stressful.
Za su iya tallafa akan a samu ruwa ko sojoji haka na taimaka ma al'umma. Za su roji na taimaka ma al'umma wadda wahala zai rage ko ba haka ba. Insha Allah. Mu san wannan wahala na ruwa shi rage. Da in ya rage mu ma dadin mu ne.
Flooding poses a major threat to water quality in Lagos. Sewage systems overflow, contaminating water sources with harmful bacteria and pollutants. This leads to a spike in waterborne diseases, especially in local communities.
People resorting to digging boreholes. This is most rampant in Lagos. I would say that Lagos, and by extension Nigeria, will have one of the most drilled aquifers in the world. And these are serious environmental implications. It has serious geological implications. It even has serious social justice implications, because what it then means is that it is those who are able to afford the cost of sinking boreholes and being able to access power, electricity supply, are the ones who have access to water. And they don't even use it sustainably. They don't use it judiciously. There's no regulation in that regard.
You know, one thing about water is that it depends the way you do it. The depth, the increase in depth make the water that's coming out from the borehole to be pure. So for this area, there are some people, when they do their borehole, it's around 110 feet, 120. But when I do my own, I have to go to 150.
The Lagos state government has launched various water projects, but the reality on the ground tells a different story. Now this is the current situation. And until concrete solutions are implemented, millions of Lagos residents will continue to face this daily struggle, putting their health and well-being at risk. These questions remain, so how long will they have to wait? In Lagos, for News Central, Abubakar.
Lagos State is pushing forward with bold strategies to secure its place as Nigeria's economic powerhouse. A new economic update highlights key development plans for infrastructure improvements to business growth aimed at driving sustained progress. News Central's business correspondent Habiba Adebayo filed this report.
Lagos State is setting ambitious targets for economic development despite challenges like power shortages and rising costs. The 2025 Lagos Economic Development Update outlines a strategic vision focused on revenue assurance, infrastructure upgrades, business investment, and social development, all designed to strengthen the state's economy.
Lagos has the potential to develop its infrastructure faster, to improve the quality of those infrastructure, and to improve the lives, well-being, and livelihood of its people.
A major concern remains Lagos' energy deficit, which the report estimates costs the state 5.3 trillion naira annually. The state currently receives 1,000 megawatts from the national grid, far below the 9,000 megawatts it needs, forcing businesses and residents to rely on costly off-grid generators. But the government says solutions are on the way. There's a renewed push for renewable energy projects and independent power initiatives to ease the energy gap and support businesses.
We're very excited at the fact that we're doing our LEDU updates, 2025 updates. So we're building on the initial report which we had, and that just shows that, consistently it's something we want to do to ensure that we can continuously build and ensure that we can give our citizens the right access to the right sort of data which is specific to them in their environment.
The update also outlines plans to boost employment, streamline taxes, and enhance public engagement with a strong emphasis on innovation, fiscal sustainability, and economic resilience.
We realized since LSTF was set up for 8-9 years now, we realized that it's not only access to capital that's an entrepreneur's issue. There's actually access to infrastructure, there's access to capacity building, access to mentorship. But then also not everyone is caught up in entrepreneurship. So we do now have a thriving employability community.
These long-term development plans can reinforce Lagos' status as the economic heartbeat of Nigeria. Now, as Lagos moves forward with these initiatives, all eyes will be on how they translate into real economic gains for businesses and residents alike.
News returns after the break. Thank you for staying. Now, still in Lagos State, the State Police Command has intensified its efforts to combat crime, resulting in the arrest of at least 23 suspects and the rescue of over 4 victims. According to the Force Public Relations Officer, Benjamin Hundain, the command has successfully targeted crimes such as armed robbery, kidnapping, murder, child abuse, defilement, and cult-related violence. Notable among the arrests were 2 Pakistani nationals who were accused of being part of a 7-man syndicate that kidnapped a fellow countryman in Lagos under the pretense of a job offer. Additionally, the police have made progress in the investigation of the death of a Lagos State University student, with 3 suspects detained and efforts underway to apprehend 5 more suspects.
Pakistanis, there are actually a total of 7 in number. 2 were arrested and in custody now, while 5 fled the scene. But efforts are on to get those wanted Pakistanis. And of course, being foreign nationals, they were transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department for further investigation, and definitely their country, the embassy of their country would be informed. We have a case of defilement wherein one Joel Chukwemeka, a 35-year-old man, defiled his 15-year-old sister-in-law. This happened in Isolo area of Lagos State. Also, we were able to arrest some cable vandals. This happened in Odonoforija on March 2nd, 2025 at about 2:30 a.m. And we'll assure the public that updates will be given about the investigation or on the progress we have made as soon as we get these updates. Every fortnight we would like to address the press so that we don't give room for any sort of speculation.
Security has been described as a shared responsibility, requiring individuals from diverse socio-cultural backgrounds to work together for peaceful coexistence. This was the remark of the General Officer commanding 3 Division and Commander of Operation Safe Haven, Major General Folusho Oyinlola, during a stakeholders engagement with farmers and herders in Pankshin and Mongu local government areas of Plateau State. News Central's Chizoba Nyongwe tells us more.
For over 2 decades, Plateau State has grappled with recurring security challenges, with some areas still experiencing sporadic incidents of criminality. To address these concerns, stakeholders have convened to discuss the safest approaches to the 2025 farming season in Mangu and Pangshin local government areas. This event, organized by Operation Safe Haven, aims to foster peaceful coexistence between farmers and herders. Major General Oyinlola remains optimistic about the impact of this initiative.
As we move towards another farming season, we resist every attempt by crisis merchants to incite violence and cooperate with security agencies to provide the necessary conditions for a very successful farming season. Let me assure you that Operation Safe Haven remains fully committed to ensuring peace and security in Plateau State and beyond.
Governor Caleb Mutfwang and other key state officials have reaffirmed their commitment to sustainable peace in Plateau State.
His Excellency has said it and has asked me to tell you he is prepared to work for Plateau State. He is prepared to change Plateau State. Let me appeal to you. Peace must begin from here. Peace must begin from here.
Please, it is a charge on us. It is a charge on you as community leaders. It is a charge on you as religious leaders to go back and sit down and look at these gray areas. Where did we miss it? So that we will retrace our steps and go back to where we used to be.
Despite the weight of their concerns, stakeholders hope their grievances will be addressed.
We have taken our hard cry that those structures being raised on our land without our permission be destroyed immediately. Form a committee, fact-finding committee, to go around these displaced places, see how to adjust so that we have a very good farming and hardying year. Allow our people to go back to their ancestral land, whereby they will live freely and all programs to remain the way it was.
With the moves made here today, one would expect that the imminent farming season in the state will be peaceful and everyone will continue to enjoy the relative peace in the state. From Mangu local government area of Plateau State for News Central, Chizoba Amaewhule.
Coming up, 20 Burundi soldiers die in recent clashes with M23 rebels. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. At least 20 Burundian soldiers have been killed in recent clashes with the M23 rebel group and Rwandan troops in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, military sources confirmed on Thursday. Now, the fighting occurred on Monday and Tuesday in Kaziba, near the Burundian border, where M23 and Rwandan forces launched an assault on Burundian positions. Despite being surrounded, the Burundian troops managed to withdraw, leaving behind an injured commander. Lower intensity clashes continued through Thursday. And this marks a significant escalation in the ongoing violence as the M23 rebels push further into the mineral-rich region, raising concerns of broader regional conflicts. Talks to end the fighting are set to begin on March 18 in Angola. The African Union has expressed deep concern on Friday over rising tensions in Ethiopia's Tigray region, warning that divisions within the Tigray People's Liberation Front and deteriorating relations between Ethiopia and Eritrea threatens the fragile peace established by the 2022 peace agreement. The agreement ended a brutal two-year war that claimed up to 600,000 lives, but its incomplete implementation has left unresolved issues, fueling political divisions in Tigray. The AU stresses the importance of adhering to the peace agreement to preserve the hard-won peace and create conditions for lasting reconciliation, peace building, and development in the region. In other news from around the world, China called for the removal of what it considers illegal sanctions on Iran as it hosted key diplomats from Iran and Russia on Friday for discussions aimed at restarting stalled talks on Tehran's nuclear program. Now, the United States had withdrawn from the 2015 nuclear deal during President Donald Trump's first term, which had lifted sanctions in exchange for limitations on Iran's nuclear development. Since President Trump's return to office in January, he has sought a new nuclear agreement, but Iran insists that no deal is possible unless sanctions are lifted. Last month, the UN's nuclear watchdog reported a significant increase in Iran's highly enriched uranium stockpile, intensifying the push for a new deal. Diplomats from China, Russia, and Iran met to discuss the issue, with China emphasizing the importance of dialogue and removal of sanctions.
就核及解除制裁问题深入地交换了意见。我们强调终止所有非法单边制裁的必要性。
In business, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has set a July 2025 deadline for states to assume full control over their electricity markets. In line with the Electricity Act 2023, NERC has transferred regulatory oversight to 10 states, including Enugu and Kogi, Lagos as well. Now, Enugu, Ekiti, Ondo, and Imo are prepared to manage electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. Kogi State Electricity Regulatory Commission officially assumed oversight, with NERC pledging continued support. The Electricity Act 2023 enables states to private entities to independently manage electricity markets, fostering localized energy solutions. South Africa's budget hangs in the balance as Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana faces resistance from major political parties over a proposed VAT hike. Despite scaling back the increase to 1% spread over 2 years, the African National Congress still needs coalition support, particularly from Democratic Alliance, which opposes tax increases. Godongwana remains open to amendments, but warns lawmakers must propose spending cuts if VAT is scrapped. Now, the deadlock unsettles investors, putting pressure on the rand and bonds, while analysts fear a breakdown of the government of national unity if compromises aren't reached. In the world of sports, Rivers Hoopers have strengthened their squad for the Basketball Africa League by signing Sudanese stars Madut Akek and Jackson McCoy. Akek impressed last season with AS Douanes, delivering standout performances against Rivers Hoopers in the Bal Sahara Conference. The 6'7" small forward recorded a double-double in the first game and was named player of the game in the second. McCoy, a 6'5" point guard, has been with the South Sudan national team since 2020. He played a key role in the AfroBasket 2021 quarterfinal run and was named to the final roster for the Paris 2024 Olympics. He also has experience in the Croatian League and the Australian NBL. Bayelsa State Sports Commissioner Daniel Igali has called for the inclusion of traditional wrestling known as Kuwa and canoeing in the National Sports Festival in Ogun State. Igali made the appeal while welcoming Bayelsa athletes who represented Nigeria at the 13th ECOWAS African Wrestling Tournament in Abuja. He praised their achievements as Ebi Biogas and Ebipade Mugabofa won gold in the 76 kg and 66 kg categories, respectively, with Team Nigeria also securing 2 silver medals. He emphasized that traditional wrestling connects to Nigeria's cultural heritage and should be part of the festival. Igali also questioned the exclusion of canoeing, noting that Nigeria's recent Olympic qualification in the sport and its potential to win medals with proper investment. Still talking sports, Benue State Football Association Chairman Paul Ede has called on Lobby Stars players to set up their performance in the Nigeria Premier Football League. Lobby Stars are currently at the bottom of the league table and have failed to win in their last 11 matches. Ede emphasized the urgency of the situation, urging the team to approach their final 10 fixtures as must-win games. Lobby Stars will look to turn their fortunes around when they face Bayelsa United in Yenagoa this weekend. Bruno Fernandes inspired Manchester United to a 4-1 win over Real Sociedad at Old Trafford, securing a 5-2 aggregate victory and a spot in the Europa League quarter-finals. Sociedad took an early lead through Mikel Oyarzabal's penalty, but Fernandes quickly equalized from the spot and converted another penalty early in the second half. The Portuguese star then sealed his hat-trick with a composed finish, taking his season tally to 15 goals. Diogo Dalot had added a late fourth as Ruben Amorim's side, struggling in the Premier League, kept their European hopes alive. United will now face Lyon in the last 8. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. We told you that Nigerian Senate passes vote of confidence in Senator Godswill Akpabio, reaffirms support for his leadership. We also told you that Fubara Rights Assembly plans budget representation on Wednesday, March 19. And finally, you heard that 20 Burundi soldiers die in recent clashes with the M23 rebel group. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.